Great, thank you, Annette. And with that, it is my privilege to introduce our spotlight speaker today, Ray Hobbs. She is one of our two new teammates that I'm very excited to be working with. It's been
about 2 months.
Almost 2 months. Holy time flies when we're having fun. And she is going to share with us her story of how she got to the Focus Suites.
So a little bit of background about myself. I'm from the area. I grew up in Denton, went to school in Lincoln, went to university at UNL. I graduated in 2016 with my bachelor's in journalism and English. And after that, I ended up in China. It's a bit of a long story, but I ended up teaching over there. I was there for 3 years and I really loved it. So I brought a couple of pictures to show, and we can kind of go through some of those, and hopefully I can tie it back into entrepreneurship and make it a little bit valuable to you guys as well. So, I come from a really big family. There are 9 of us kids, 5 of them are adopted. That makes holidays pretty crazy. But I definitely wouldn't have moved to China without the support of my family. My mother actually taught in China before I did, and so she was really, really supportive of me going overseas. And they've always been supportive of travel and having a curiosity about the world. I was located in Shenzhen, which is in southern China, so it shares a border with Hong Kong. It's very, very hot there. It's humid and hot all year round. It's difficult weather, I would say. So this is the city, this is Shenzhen. It's pretty incredible. In the 1980s, it was designated as a special economic zone. Before that, it had been a fishing village, and then it just exploded. And so the population grew to about 13 million that it is today in just a couple of decades.
I'm curious, did you take these pictures?
So this one is actually from online. Some of them are mine, so sorry. This one I also did not take. That tower there, that's called the Ping An Financial Tower. It's the 4th tallest building in the world, and it's the highlight of the Shenzhen skyline. So when I was teaching there, I started as a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade teacher. I taught English in a public school. And this was my first experience really teaching, which was pretty terrifying. Each of the classes would have between 45 and 60 kids in them. And I would be the only one in there. And so I quickly learned classroom management and how to communicate with kids whose English wasn't, obviously the first language. These are some of my kids.
Oh, how cute they are.
So did your mom speak Chinese? Are you fluent in Chinese?
I speak some. I speak enough to get by. I struggle with the tones because it's a tonal language. I'm not good at memorizing the tones, and so I worry that I am saying something I don't mean. My second year, I taught in a kindergarten. This was my class that year. This was right before COVID started, and so COVID really threw a wrench in things. It threw a wrench in things for everybody. And so when we took a break for the winter, we didn't end up going back. And so I was only there for a semester. But it was pretty incredible, and it was great to work with the young kids too.
What was their attention like? I mean, as far as discipline, are they highly disciplined?
Yes, yeah. They have a lot expected of them, and so they are very studious, and occasionally they are kind of naughty. I've had a couple of kids that didn't like to go to school or pay attention, and so
How do they deal with that?
yeah, so we contacted the parents to let them know that we were having behavioral issues at school, and the parents would have a chat with them, and we have a couple of different ways to encourage them to continue learning and pay attention. One of the best things about teaching over there was sharing Western cultures and Western holidays. Halloween is big here, but it's not really a thing over there, and so being able to dress up and introduce that to the kids was really great. This is one of my kids. So every morning we would have outdoor exercise time, and it's really impressive because all of the kids know exactly where to line up and how to line up, and they know exactly what they're doing, and so it's really quite impressive. So for as much as I shared Western culture, the Chinese people that I worked with also shared their culture with me, and so we got to celebrate their holidays as well. It was definitely a learning experience, and it was pretty amazing. In January of 2020, my family did come to visit, and so we got to go up north to the Great Wall. One of the biggest pieces of advice that we had before we hiked the wall was not to take the 3-year-old on the trip. And we did not follow that advice. The wall is not flat. In some places it's vertical, and so it was really difficult. But luckily we had friends with us, and the 2 men in the background there, they are actually my mom's previous students. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Wow.
China is incredible. It's got incredible landscapes, and it's stunning. The food there is also really good. It's not like traditional, what am I trying to say? It's not like Chinese food that you get here. It's very different when you're there.
More spicy?
Definitely more spicy, and I would say that they use different pieces of meat that we don't usually use over here.
Did you do kite flying?
Sorry?
Did you do kite flying? Is that crazy?
Yeah, so kite flying is huge over there. They are really good at it, and they fly them incredibly high. It sounds a little bit weird, but it's really impressive. They are really welcoming and really grateful for teachers over there, and so they make sure to celebrate everybody who comes to teach from overseas. And so this was our Foreign Teachers Day, and they gave us gifts and made sure that we knew we were welcome. So this is the last of the pictures that I have, but I think one of the biggest things that I learned from over there is to try new things, and I think that's a shared experience between new business owners and people who start their own businesses and people who move overseas. I think trying new things is so incredibly important, and I think that's probably the best piece of advice that I've ever received, apart from not taking a child on the Great Wall. But I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever had, and it's been really helpful to me.
So what made you, when you came across the job opening to work with small business owners and entrepreneurs, what made you think, I'm going to apply for that job?
Yeah. So one of my top 5 Clifton strengths is learner. And the other one is actually focus. And so it makes sense that I feel right at home here at SCC in the focus suites. I'm interested in learning new things, trying new things. Growing up, my parents always inspired us to think outside the box and to work hard. And they often inspired us to start our own businesses. So as a kid, I had a dog walking business. I had a business making flyers and like greeting cards for friends. And so being in this environment just makes sense, and it feels like home.
So you already told us your favorite part, or your favorite piece of advice. Is there so you're a learner.
Mm-hmm.
Very interested in all the things. What keeps you motivated to keep learning, or what keeps you motivated to keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah. I love trying new hobbies, trying new things. And so I think that's probably my number one thing, trying out new hobbies. When I was in China, I took drum lessons, and I learned to play the ukulele, and I took cooking classes, and I just tried a whole bunch of different things, and I really loved that because it really appealed to my learner aspect. So,
why China?
Yeah, so a lot of times I tell people that I kind of accidentally came to China. At the time when I applied, I had also been applying for grad schools in the UK, and I was supposed to hear back within a couple of weeks about their decision, and they were taking their time. I wasn't hearing back, and I was getting pretty frustrated, and I knew that I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to live abroad, and so a friend of mine sent me a job posting for a teaching job in China, and I thought, might as well. I'll probably hear back from the school before I hear back from China, right? I applied for the job, did an interview, was offered the position, and needed to make a decision all within the span of a week. So I figured, might as well. It sounds like an adventure, sounds incredible. I'm sure I will be able to try lots of new things, meet lots of new people. So I decided to go for it. I sent in my contract, said, yes, I will go. The very next day, I got my acceptance letter to my top school. So,
and you chose still China.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
you said you had multiple businesses as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any business aspirations now?
Yes, definitely. I'm still working on those.
You don't have to give out the secrets yet.
Yeah. I feel like I have a lot of different ideas of things I would want to do, but I haven't started anything yet, but I'm in the right spot, so.
Definitely. Now, before we turn it over, what are your favorite local businesses or restaurants?
Mm-hmm. I love Daffodil. It's a Mediterranean restaurant. It's excellent. The woman who runs it is incredible. Yeah. I also like, I had a whole list that I had written and now I'm blanking. I've always liked to paint yourself silly.
That is a fun place, especially when you have a lot of siblings to take.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Thank you. Does anybody have questions for Ray?
Would you go back to China again? Or would you prefer to go in the guise of doing something different? Would you like to go somewhere else?
yes and yes. I think my heart will always be in China. I love the people there. I love the opportunities, and yeah, it's really great. And I'm also a traveler. I want to see the world, and so it's hard because I want to be in China, but I also want to be here, but I also want to try new places. So I can't be in 3 places at once.
Did you get a sense that China is lots and lots of different places? Because we all bunch China together as boom, this one amorphous mass, kind of like the US is as well.
Yeah.
But there's almost different countries within it, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. And so the north is far different than the south where I was. And it changes even city to city. My city, like I said, it shares a border with Hong Kong, and the feel of it, I mean, you can get the metro to between cities and they're so close together, but they are so vastly different. It's insane. So
Between your city and Hong Kong?
mm-hmm. Yep.
How so?
So just the cultural differences between the 2 cities. And I mean, Hong Kong has gone through quite a bit of change. And there's also the language barrier there. They speak more Cantonese there, and then it's more Mandarin in Shenzhen.
Hong Kong was highly industrialized or progressive before they merged back together. Is any of that influence coming into your city? As far as, is that where a lot of the city growth and entrepreneurialism has come from, is out of Hong Kong?
Yeah. Hong Kong is, it's really high tech, and it's the port, and Shenzhen has it's the biggest tech market in China, and I think it's one of the biggest in the world. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
Will you share a little bit about being in China at the very beginning of COVID?
Mm-hmm. So the winter holiday starts in January, about mid-January. Teachers usually get a week off, or not a week, a month off, and then they go back to school. We started our break, and then we never went back. I was at a kindergarten when it happened, and so kindergartens were one of the last schools groups to go back. I was actually quite lucky. I had decided to, well, in January, my parents had come to visit, and then they went home. About a week later, I ended up going home as well. I was home for about 2 months, from February to March 2020. And that's when things were pretty bad over there. My city was locked down. It was really difficult over there. And so I missed that. And then as things were locking down here, that's when I went back. And so I really lucked out. So.
What was it like for, I know you weren't a business owner there, but I'm just wondering what it was like for businesses that you would need to go to or go shopping to or go to restaurants. What was that like during that time?
Most places were shut. A lot of small businesses went under, and there was a lot of online ordering, you know. But they were able to shift pretty quickly and pretty easily. They already had a really good system for deliveries and online orders and things like that. And so they they were quite set up for it already. So.
Anybody else have questions or comments?
Are there any friends that you stay in touch with?
Yeah. I actually invited some of them to join via Zoom, but I think they're all asleep right now. So I figured they have to work. So I'll be sending it their way. But yeah, when I was over there, I joined a Gaelic football league. Just another thing to try. And so I joined this Irish football team, and I still keep in contact with all of them. And yeah, so I'll make sure that they see this video.
Is there
What
footage
position
of
did
that?
you play?
Goalie.
Oh, you were a goalie.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to see footage of this.
Yeah.
Compete on the Irish football league
Irish
in China.
football.
China, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'm also not Irish, so it's just.
Irish football in essence is soccer, right?
No, it's different. It's like a mixture between soccer and basketball and volleyball.
Which is why they call it Gaelic, John. Seriously.
Leave it to the Irish.
It's Gaelic and it's insane.
Yeah. But it's so much fun. It's
gosh.
great.
Trying to get my head around that.
Me too.
So you can kick the ball, you can hit it like a volleyball, and then you can bounce it like a basketball. The net looks like a soccer goal with an American football, like the arms of American football. So
Can you kick it?
yeah,
So you can kick field goals or kick over the.
yeah. It's a lot going on.
That's a lot to defend as a goal.
Yeah.
It's rough.
So what kind of ball, I'm very interested, so what kind of ball did you use?
Can we pull up a video of this?
That was the one video I didn't bring in. So it's kind of like a soccer ball.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit smaller than a regular soccer ball, but yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We hear, not to get into the political side, but we hear, about the abuses of children and people in general.
Yeah.
Do you see any of that? Is it there?
That's a really good question, and I didn't see any of it myself. When you're over there, you hear about the things going on in Xinjiang and different parts of China. I didn't see or experience anything myself, and that's not to say it's not going on at all, but it's something that I feel like I can't really speak to because I didn't see it.
And I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. It's a tough question, and I think we need to be careful because I don't know. I want to make sure that people are
See the best.
yeah. They want to make sure that people see the best over there, and that's not always the case,
As somebody else who has studied abroad, my wife and I have had this conversation. So, she actually went over to Europe, just for like a day. It was gone for maybe 7 to 10 days or something like that. Where, I wasn't as gone as long as you, but 7 months. That's home. So, it's different. You get sick, you have to go to the doctor. You have to, just all the things that you take kind of for granted or whatever. You don't do them on a vacation. It's just all the day-to-day stuff, kind of thing. And we've had that conversation with our kids that, I don't care what it costs. I think that doing something like that is invaluable. Because you really do get immersed in the culture and get to see, like I said, just kind of how things work. From politics to just everything. So yeah, I encourage anybody who has the chance to do it, the means to do it, encourage your kids to do it, and it's an amazing experience.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
can imagine that in China would be incredible.
Yeah. Jim?
3. What was the most surprising thing about China to you?
Mhm.
What was the most challenging thing when you first got there?
Mhm.
And what was the most fun thing about being in that culture? Surprising, challenging, fun.
Okay. Surprising. I think the most surprising thing was just how quickly things changed. Things move rapidly over there. I remember I went to lunch with a friend at our favorite noodle restaurant 1 week, and then we returned the next week, and it was a completely different restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was 1 week difference, and it was that quick of a turnaround.
Different owners and everything?
Yep,
Wow.
different owners, different name. They had like completely redecorated.
Especially in the Haymarket
yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Go back the next week and it's torn down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So things changing so quickly, and on top of that, also having to learn to stay on your toes all the time. On a couple of different occasions, I would be walking to a class. I'd be ready to teach, 3rd grade, and a teacher would come up to me and say, actually, they're going to have a test. You need to go over to a different class. So you need to teach 1st grade now. And so you'd have to switch like that. And so I think that was the most surprising thing. When I first arrived, I think the shock of it all was the most challenging. Luckily, my dad helped me move over, and so he was there for about a week, helping me get moved in, get settled in, find my job, and everything like that. And so the day he left, I think I cried for about 3 hours. I was so worried I wouldn't even be able to find, the metro station or get on an airplane to come home if I needed to. And so, but it ended up being something I didn't need to worry about. So, surprising, challenging, fun. Okay. Oh man, where do I start? I think they just have, I think they've got like a holiday for everything over there. And so they're always celebrating. They've always got something fun going on. So they work hard, but they also play hard, and they know how to take a rest when they need it. This was another surprising thing. I didn't realize that taking naps is a big thing over there, and it's not for kids. It's not just for kids. It's for everybody across the board. And so my first week there, I was walking to the office, and it was right about lunchtime when everybody goes down for a nap. I passed by a construction site, and all of the workers were lying on the floor, and I thought, oh my God, I don't even know how to call the police. The number's not 911. I can't even talk to them. And then I realized that they were just sleeping. They were just having a nap. So, so yeah, that was another surprising thing, but it's really nice to take a nap in the middle of the workday. We might have to implement it.
That sounds like something we
So what are their work hours then if they're taking a nap in the middle of the day? Are their work hours different than they are here, or is it kind of 9 to 5?
So when I worked 8 to 12, and then we'd have a 2-hour break from 12 to 2, and then we'd work again 3 to 5. So.
Interesting culturally, because that's exactly what you do in the Middle East. In the Gulf, it's exactly the same. There's a break. You work from 7:30 to 1. There's a 2-hour break, and you start again. And stores and everything, shops, offices will open again from 3 until 6 or 7.
Yep.
And stores typically until 9 in the evening. Because it starts. I don't know how it is. You said it was very hot and humid all the time.
Yeah.
Because obviously in the Gulf and places like that, it's very climate related, doing that sort of thing, kind of like your siesta in Spain.
Well, and my daughter was in Italy, and she said the same thing, that they would have that break, and it took her a while to get used to
It's a
it.
Mediterranean thing.
France was actually the same way. Lunch was a big deal in France. So, I mean, everything closed down for about 2 hours, and then you can go back to work.
Yeah.
Well, this is true down south. here in the United States. You get many years ago, I worked on a hospital design in New Orleans. And project manager and I flew down there, and the construction manager was going crazy because he had built his Perk org chart based on production and things down. Well, they shut down, again, because high humidity, heat type of thing, from about 1 to 3, but then they come back and stay till 7. But, and it's part of the Hispanic and the Cajun culture. You just shut down and rest. The Perk guy thought they were like 2 months to 3 months behind schedule, but they ended up making it out because the productivity level actually goes up after the rest.
Yeah.
We're running errands on your lunch break there.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Another one. What was your favorite food?
Oh, soup dumplings. Those were really good.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Shades of abominable.
Mhm.
Can I shift subjects
Yeah.
and ask a little bit about your family?
Yeah.
I was intrigued by that. You have 5 adopted siblings
Mhm.
and 4 of you that are biological.
Yep.
That's a wonderful family. It looked from the picture like there was an ethnic mix. So where are your adopted children, or siblings from?
So they are all from Lincoln, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah, they're from the area. So, but yeah, there still is that cultural mix, though. Yeah. So
Where do you fall in the birth order?
I'm number 3.
Number 3.
Mhm.
Now, were the children, the siblings that were adopted in between, or all after, or before?
They were all adopted together at in 2018. So we had the official adoption in 2018, about 3 months before I left for China. But they had been staying with us for about 2 years before that. My parents did foster care, and so they came to them through that.
So are they all related then?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they're all biological siblings. So
Was it closed or open adoption?
closed. Yep.
What was the oldest one that you started fostering? How old was the oldest sibling?
Well, he's 14 now. So it's been a couple of years.
Okay.
So yeah.
You have an amazing family. Your parents
Thanks.
have not met them, but they have to be just
What do they
amazing.
do? Right.
Yeah, my mom is a professor for UNO. My dad works for the Diocese of Lincoln. So,
what does your mother teach?
sociology and criminology. She, like I said, she is really one of the biggest inspirations I have for traveling and moving abroad. She recently won a Fulbright, and she'll be leaving for Singapore with all of the kids at the end of the month.
Wow.
So yeah, they will be there for about, I think the kids will be there for a shorter period, but she'll be there for about 2 months.
So is the COVID lockdown right now affecting that? Because I know there's a number of areas that shut down and more continuing to shut down because of their COVID outbreak right now.
Yeah, so she's had a lot of trouble trying to figure out when she can go. She's been waiting for about, I think, 1.5 years to try and go. And so finally things are starting to open up, at least in Singapore. And so tentatively, she's got her flights booked, she's got a place to stay, and she's got everything set up. So hopefully they let her get on the plane.
Well, and again, I know that they're doing more and more shutdowns every day because I'm not sure which version of COVID is out there right now, but there's a huge shutdown right now in China.
Yeah, and I mean, in Shanghai, it's really bad. I think Omicron is the biggest contributor to that. But I think, fingers crossed, I think Singapore is doing okay.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't read the news today, so.
yeah, and it changes daily, so, yeah, fingers crossed they will be able to go. So,
Did you have something?
No, I have COVID, doesn't. Only thing, I had COVID.
Oh, Okay.
And it's the newest light version. I didn't even get sick.
Oh, good.
I didn't get a fever, but I took my wife in, not to change subject, but I took my wife in last week, ago Tuesday. She tested negative, and they gave her, she has asthma anyway. I started coughing on Wednesday and Thursday, and I said, I must have what you have. I went on Friday, and the doctor said, you'll leave out the back door.
Oh, no.
But it's a very mild, I was mowing the lawn and doing stuff on Sunday already, and
Good for you.
I got 1 day left. I do this for you folks.
Thank
5
you.
days were over.
Yeah.
We're over on Monday or Tuesday, I'm on day 8 now.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
so hopefully, my reason for sharing that, hopefully some of the variances that they're now experiencing, the Omicron, I don't think that's kind of re-rise yet. Every one of, it's a flu virus, it's no different than flu shots we get. And my doctor, he uses the drugs that have been out there on the marketplace. You can't get them at CVS, you can't get them at Walgreens, but you can get them at Stockholm. And so I've been on that and a steroid. I worked out at Genesis today, had another meeting before I got here. But I think what we're going to see, this thing's going to go on for a couple of years, and you're going to get a flu shot. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that's what it
Hopefully,
morphs into.
their benefits is on going on the downside, so the quarantine levels are going to be less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, another question.
No, it's great.
That's why I get back to your. Did you experience any challenges returning from China?
Kind of. I needed to have quite a few different documents to come back into the U.S., and that was just COVID related. I needed to have proof of a COVID vaccination and a COVID test, and I needed it in both Chinese and in English, and that was a little bit tricky to get both.
What about any emotional challenges? I mean, like, there's culture shock going over someplace to live. But did you experience anything after being there for 3 years trying to return to your home culture?
Oh yes, absolutely. Just when I touched down in, I think I flew into San Francisco, I was just amazed that I could just understand everybody like that, and without even having to try. And I'm like, everybody's being really loud. So that was a huge culture shock, and I mean, just day-to-day life is different. Expectations are different. Naps aren't a thing here.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely culture shock going there and coming back. So.
How did you get around mostly?
So they've got an incredible metro system there. They've got high-speed trains that are really helpful, and then they also have rideshare, which is remarkably cheap.
Okay.
And
so you didn't buy an electric scooter or something like that?
I didn't, but I had friends who did. I had a friend who got his driver's license the week I left.
Really?
And I thought that was really brave because traffic there it's intense. So they have big huge highways, and it's a lot going on. So I don't think I'd be brave enough to get my driver's license over there.
But you flew into San Francisco.
Yeah.
Is there a word for entrepreneurship in Mandarin?
Oh, that's a good question. If there is, I don't know it. My Mandarin's not that good.
Okay, I'll give you that. Any final questions or comments for Ray? Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thanks.
I'll speak for Amy too. We love having you here.
Aw.
You are invaluable. You're the glue that keeps us together, and I'm very excited to keep working with you and having everybody else get to know you better too.
Thanks.
So Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are still looking for a speaker for next week, so if anybody would like to share their story, please contact us, or if you know of somebody who would like to. And then the following week, I'm really excited. We have an alumni business coming back, Josh Hoover Rothgen with Pig Patrol, and he has a really cool story to share with everybody. And stay, have more coffee, have more of Ray's muffins. Thank you to Community Development Resources for providing our coffee. And